It's time for Mac Geek Gab, and listener Greg brings us our quick tip of the week with there's a handy hidden feature that can be found in the control center that lets you swiftly set up a timer without hunting for the clock app. You probably know that you can jump to the timer section in the clock app by tapping the dedicated control center button, but you might not know that there's an even shorter shortcut. Tap and hold the timer button in the control center and a slider will appear on your screen. Move your finger up or down on the slider to increase or decrease the duration in 1 minute increments and tap start to begin. More tips like this plus your question answered today on Mac Geek Gab 1089 for Monday, May 12th, 2025.
Greetings, folks, and welcome to Mac Geek Gab, the show where you send in tips like that. We share them. You send in cool stuff found. We share that. You send in questions. We share them, hopefully answering them or at least providing some guidance down the troubleshooting path so that we can each learn at least 5 new things every single time we get together. Our sponsors for this week include Square.com/go/MGG, where you can get up to $200 off of Square hardware when you sign up there. Coda.io/MGG, where you can have one dock to rule them all and get 6 months of the team plan for startups for free. And also a new sponsor, CalderaLab.com/MGG. Don't settle for drugstore junk, and you can save 20% on your first order using code MGG at checkout. We'll talk more about all of that in a minute. For now, here in Durham, New Hampshire, as usual, I'm Dave Hamilton.
And here in South Dakota, as usual, I'm Adam Christensen.
And here in sunny Pensacola, not so usual, Pilot Pete. Good to be here with you guys today.
It's good to be here on National Nutty Fudge Day, it turns out.
Check the banner. Indeed it is.
National Nutty Fudge Day. The day that we're recording this, though, Friday, May 9th, is National Tear the Tags Off Your Mattresses Day. So if you didn't celebrate that on the 9th, you can, you have our permission. You can circle back and celebrate that
Prepare
today.
to go to jail. I'm just saying. Under penalty of law.
That's right. Unless you're the consumer.
Unless you're the consumer.
That's right. Yeah. and of course, MacGeekGab.com/giveaway lets you sign up to win an Eero Outdoor 7 unit. So make sure that's our monthly giveaway. So you've got a little bit of time, but enter early, enter often. There are ways to legitimately enter more than once. So you can go check that out. MacGeekGab.com/giveaway. Yeah.
Hey, Dave, I found that one of the police codes for 1089 is a bomb threat. So I think we should drop some quick tip bombs on our.
I like it. So I was messing around with Lisa's computer this week and realized for whatever reason, I could not, on my Synology, and we have more things to say about Synology today. On my Synology, I could not set a quota on the volume for her Time Machine backups, nor could I set a quota on her user account for these Time Machine backups. And I have some theories as to why I rolled this volume back from a newer unit, and I think I got myself in a coffin corner of sorts where both things are sort of fighting with each other. But in any event, I'm like, well, wait a minute. Mac OS also now lets you set a quota for your Time Machine backups. And so I went in and the smallest it would let me set for her was 2.5 terabytes. And she has about 800 gigs worth of storage on this, storage used on this particular computer. I'm like, 2.5 terabytes, that's more than I care to allocate to it. I don't feel like it's excessive, but it's more than I want. I want to do about 1.5. And so, but you can't change it once, and it wouldn't let me go lower than that on the user interface. So I got it all set up, and then I did some searching, and I found out that you can use from the terminal. There is a generic command that does everything with Time Machine from the terminal called tmutil, And if you there is a subcommand of it called setquota. And so I did, the first thing you have to do is tmutil destinationinfo, and I'll put all this in the show notes so that, and you get your disk ID from there, and then you use tmutil setquota with the disk ID and how many gigabytes you want. So I set it to 1500 gigabytes, and it worked. It gave me an error the first time because it was, I guess, still setting the volume up, saying you can't do this on network storage. You can only do it on local storage. But I tried it again later anyway, once all was said and done, and it absolutely let me do it, and it worked just fine. So the tmutil command can take care of that for you with its set quota, whatever, set quota subcommand, whatever we're supposed to call that. I don't know. It's too early in the morning. I can't think of any of this stuff. But yeah, I know. I was super stoked that that just worked. So, yep, fun. The commands are in the show notes. Yep.
I'm going to have to play with that because I've been having some issues with my time machine on the Synology. So
got it. Yep.
I'm getting there's insufficient space, which doesn't make sense because I always thought it would just overwrite, but.
Insufficient space. Well, no, that, I mean, to a degree, yes, but I've many times have seen Time Machine get itself into a scenario where it doesn't think it has enough room to juggle things out and still sort of get you to where you need to be. So, my solution to that is increase your quota temporarily, let it do its thing, and then bring the quota back down and see if that resolves it. If it doesn't, then it's time to make a new Time Machine backup.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Yep.
You go. All right.
Yeah. You want to take us to Joe?
Oh, you know what?
Aren't you next?
Because Joe was next on. Yeah, that's what the agenda says anyway. So, Joe wrote in with it. Yeah, Joe wrote in with a great tip, and man, I liked it. He says one of those things that people probably know but may not use often because they forgot. I had one of those hit me today. I was looking for a unique email that I could create with naming that I wanted to define, and ideally would be an iCloud email. I first thought to just create a new Apple ID, but that was going to be a pain because I have to enter a new Apple ID in mail and track that. And looking for an answer on the web, I had completely forgotten about Apple email alias. Turns out every Apple ID is allowed to have up to 3. Count them, 3. Email aliases associated with the same account. So I simply went into iCloud Mail on the web, clicked the little gearbox, and selected email alias, creating a name of my making, and boom, all of a sudden, I had a new email with an iCloud extension that routes to my existing email accounts. It's sort of like a self-assigned hide my email feature that can be turned off as needed. Anyway, something folks probably have known about for years, but something that's easy to forget. Keep up the great work, Joe from Raleigh. And when I first started reading this, I thought, well, he's talking about hide my email, but he's not. There's email aliases. It's like, okay. So not only did I not forget about it, Joe, I didn't even know about it, and now I do. So we have it. The one thing I noticed is that I will say when you go into email on the web for iCloud, look up at the 10 o'clock position from the word inbox, and you'll find that little gear. And in that, when it comes up, click on settings, then account, and then you have the ability to add your alias. And you can turn them on and off, change them. You know, I think once you hit your 3, you have to start deleting them to change to another one. But that
awesome.
Was cool. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Handy stuff. They let you have your little alter egos.
Yeah. And I believe I read that once you do turn that alias off, that the email bounces back to them as undeliverable.
Oh, okay. So it kills it off.
It kills it off. So if someone tries to write to you, they can't get to you.
Got it.
I don't know if that's good or dangerous.
It's good to know. So that knowing is half the battle, Pete. That's what they say.
Right, exactly.
You know what?
What's
Roy
that?
Roy has something you guys might want to know.
What's that?
He says, not sure why it took me this long to notice, but if you put your cursor on the vertical dividing line in the Mac dock, the cursor changes to up and down arrows, and you can quickly click and drag up or down to increase or decrease the size of the dock. My aging eyes appreciate this. Wish I'd known sooner. Love your podcast. A long-time listener, Roy.
Yes, and I assume that means that Roy is someone who uses the dock on the bottom of the screen as is the macOS default. Because when I hover my cursor over that divider line in the dock, or either of the divider lines in the dock, unless I turn my head 90 degrees, it is side to side arrows because I keep my dock on the left. So now I'm curious, Adam, do you keep your dock on the bottom or on the side of the screen?
I do keep my dock on the bottom, but I'll give you another tip because if I wanted to change that, I could right click or control click on that little dividing line and get the options for dock settings and positioning on the screen and turning on or off magnification or hiding or like all those different options. And then additionally, when resizing, if you hold down the option key, it will lock into certain sizes as you move left and right or up or down. Yes.
Oh, look at that. Huh. I like it. Oh, we learned a thing.
Nice.
Yeah, that's good.
Right.
That's
right
good.
Yeah.
You keep your dock on the bottom or on the side, Pete?
I'm a bottom feeder.
Bottom feeder.
It stays down there. And and then although, and did we cover this on the show a few weeks back? There's a way to put a blank space in there. It's like almost like an app. Yeah, I thought we did.
Did we cover that on? I don't know that we covered that. Not recently. I don't think so.
Okay.
How do you put a blank space in the dock, Pete?
You
How much space can a dock have if a dock had so much space?
Right. Here's your quick tip. Go look it up for yourself.
Wow. All right.
It can be done. Right? I'm not going to tell you what that word means. Go look it up for yourself. That way you'll learn it. I don't remember. I'm sorry. I don't remember how to do it.
Maybe somebody in the chat or one of us can figure it out before the episode ends here.
I know for a fact it can be done.
I have too much stuff in my dock to dedicate free space to anything. I am not a dock minimalist, and I also don't minimize my dock. And those two things can be true simultaneously or separately. I decided to put my dock on the left years ago because I use screens in landscape mode, as is typical, and therefore I have more screen real estate left to right than I do up top to bottom. Yeah. And I like to have my browser windows full height, especially on my laptop. So that's how I moved to with the menu bar at the top and the dock at the bottom. You're in that squeeze, man. And so that's why I moved my dock off to the side, and now I have more full height stuff going on. That might be a byproduct of having.
I never use my dock. Do you
Interesting.
Use it a lot?
Oh, dude, constantly. Yes, it is my chief navigation method. Yeah.
I shouldn't say never. Almost never. 90% of the time I use Spotlight to launch.
Yeah. Interesting. No, what I would like, and if somebody knows how to do this, feedback@macgeekgab.com. I would like an app that syncs my dock amongst all three of my Macs so that I have everything in the same order in the same place. Obviously, I could do this myself, I'm aware, but that would require taking screenshots and time and all the things. And I'd much rather spend 4 hours trying to get a piece of software to work that's going to do it for me than spend the 10 minutes to do it manually. Obviously.
Bingo, right.
So if anybody knows about an app, especially one that's going to take me 4 hours to configure, that's my game. Feedback@macgeekgab.com.
You heard him. Send it to feedback@macgeekgab.com.
That would be feedback@macgeekgab.com for those of you not paying attention.
Well, what makes you?
Which by now you're not.
Yeah, after that. Yeah, for sure. We're doing this an hour earlier today. I had a late
We're
gig
all a little
last
punchy.
night. Everybody's a little bit, we're not quite on our game. It feels dark to me in my studio, and that doesn't make any sense because my studio is sealed off from light and sound from the outside. Nothing gets in, nothing gets out. So my studio should feel brightness-wise the exact same 24/7. But I think maybe one of my bulbs went sort of toes up or something. I don't know.
Are you saying in Dave's studio no one can hear you scream?
That you can hear me scream in the studio. You just won't hear it if you're outside. I make lots of noise in here, Pete.
That was my reference to aliens.
Yes. I'm aware. All right. You want to take us to Andy and round out our quick tips
I
for
can
today?
make it so at this time. He writes in, "Hi guys, perhaps this is an old and well-known tip, but just in case, here it goes. My wife and I celebrate our 50th wedding anniversary this year. Congratulations, Andy. So you think you're going to stick with it? Asking for a friend. Our sons and spouses are putting together a little shindig for us and asked for an invitee list with emails and phone numbers. I did a bit of research and passed on online converters. Then I recalled a sort of lightly documented feature using Apple Contacts and numbers. Shorthand, let's call in drag and drop. All one needs to do is open Apple Contacts and open a new document in numbers. Then in Contacts, if you haven't already done so, create a list from your contacts. In our case, it was 50th anniversary. Once the list has been created, click on one name in the list and then select all of them, Command A. Then drag and drop the selected contacts onto a new blank numbers document. A small icon of a contact card should appear as you drag. All of your contacts will automatically show up in numbers with each field a separate column and each record in its own row. Of course, you can delete any of these columns you don't want and save it as a numbers, Excel, or text file. As an added bonus, this is a good way to inspect your contacts to see if you have any missing data in the wrong field, incorrect data, etc. It also lets you see every field that can be exported. I mention this because the last time I tried this about 8 years ago, I created a field I thought would be very helpful. To my chagrin, that field would not export at all. You can see it, but it's just a prisoner of contacts. Finally, just to be fair, I did try to drag and drop into Excel. No can do.
That's pretty cool. I had no idea.
Neither did I. So I tried it this morning and it failed. I'm like, what's going? Yeah. So, but it mostly works is what I want to say. And so I have a list that it's a smart list, and I created the blank numbers document and I grabbed that entire list and I tried to pull it over and it didn't work. I went, okay. So I don't know which one of them. One of those is preventing me from doing it because I was able to grab, 10 and move them over and grab 10 more and move them over. And I gave up trying to find which one of the ones wouldn't let me go. But there's something in there that wouldn't let me take them all, but I could take a vast majority of them in big chunks. So if you try this and it's not working, the reason I mentioned it is if you try it and it's not working for you, try doing 5 or 10 at a time. And, if you only have 40 or 50 to go, it won't take you that long to drag them that way. And then you'll quickly find out which one is preventing the export.
Okay. So the engine that does it is lightly documented and lightly bug tested as well. And that it does not fail gracefully. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And which is interesting because he mentions it as, he had one field that wouldn't export. Well, I'm suspecting that I have a field in there in one of those contacts that's preventing all of them from going.
Or data in a field that's preventing it. That's Okay. Well, good to know. Yeah. Yep. Amazing. Thank you for all of your quick tips, folks. And then we got some questions to do. The next thing that I want to do is tell you about our first sponsor. Because let's be real, your Mac setup, pristine. Your cable management, chef's kiss. But your personal skincare routine, if it's anything like mine used to be, it involved hope, a splash of water, and, maybe stealing something from the guest bathroom. And then I tried our sponsor, Caldera Lab, and wow, it's like upgrading from dial-up to fiber for your face. Their products are simple, science-backed, and designed specifically for men. That's cool. My favorites, the Good. Their antioxidant-packed serum that goes on smooth and really feels amazing. The Eye Serum actually makes me look like I slept last night, which this week, man, it hasn't been working out for me. But, at least I look good. It's better to look good than to feel good, right? And the base layer, fast-absorbing, non-greasy, and no shiny forehead. Perfect. In a recent study, 100% of men said that their skin looked smoother and healthier. And candidly, I get it. My skin feels better. I feel better. And no, I didn't have to decode a 47-step skincare spreadsheet to get here. Don't get caught using drugstore mystery goo. Skincare doesn't have to be complicated, but it should be good. Whether you're starting fresh or upgrading your routine, Caldera Lab makes skincare simple and effective. Don't settle for drugstore junk or steal your partner's products. Elevate your routine with skincare made for you. Head to calderalab.com/MGG and use code MGG at checkout for 20% off your first order. Again, that's calderalab.com/MGG, code MGG at checkout for 20% off your first order. And our thanks to Caldera Lab for sponsoring this episode.
Gentlemen.
Where?
Bill has a question. Bill has a question. All right, dudes. Bill has a question.
Right.
Yes.
When I let Quicken or other programs update, I sometimes get a message from CleanMyMac or AVG asking if I want to fully remove the application. I believe this is triggered by the fact that part of the old version of the software has been deleted, but other parts remain when an update occurs. So I tell CleanMyMac no, because I don't know if it's smart enough to only delete what is truly no longer needed. This seems the safe route, but it is probably leaving cruft behind, cruft that takes up storage space and could possibly cause problems if it's still being loaded by the system or accessed by some harmful programming. What do you do when you've updated a program and are asked if you want to get rid of the rest of it? Bill.
Took the liberty of answering this one, and Bill, just let it do its thing, and then you'll have an excuse to go buy a new computer. Or, no, I agree with what you did, Bill. You've got to deny it, I believe. And Dave and Adam, I'm sure if they disagree, will speak right up. But here's the thing: you've got two programs running, and they aren't designed to talk with each other. I don't believe. If in your case, Quicken, I don't think Quicken's uninstaller, or I should say updater, is sitting here thinking, well, CleanMyMac may jump in here and delete some of this stuff. It's going to remove what it thinks it needs to remove, leave behind what it thinks it needs to leave behind, and update your application. If CleanMyMac sees something left behind and jumps in and wants to delete it, I think you're setting yourself up for problems. And I like it. Here's a really awkward analogy, but it's like two people cleaning a house without talking to each other. One person sets the trash down and sets some things next to the trash can, intending to put them back later. And another person comes in and grabs it all and takes it out. And the good going out with the bad. And I think you're setting yourself up for problems if you allow CleanMyMac or Hazel or any of those programs to dump stuff out while an updater is working. Which is not to say that when I do delete an app intending to put a different version, or like if I'm going from SetApp to the brand or from the brand's own to SetApp, then I'll delete it completely and let the other install work. So is my logic solid, guys? What do you think?
Works for me. Yeah. I see that come up occasionally if I have one of those those always on uninstaller kind of things monitoring. And I have seen that when I've either manually done an update to an app or the app's updater or whatever. A lot of times they're smart. Like if they're using that Sparkle framework, CleanMyMac, I think, acknowledge or honors that. But yeah, I've seen it. And you're exactly right, Bill. Yep. I think.
Does that only come up like I don't? That's one feature of CleanMyMac that I don't allow to be on. That sort of like monitor all my stuff. I just don't like it running in the background. Like I like to do that stuff manually. So I'll go through like I'll just open CleanMyMac from time to time and kind of run some of the cleanup stuff that I want to run. But I just turn off the monitoring part of I'm going to monitor what's installed or what's not installed. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing to do. I mean, I guess it's there for a reason, but I don't like extra third party stuff that's kind of running in the background, like looking at stuff or looking at what I'm doing. Because I just find it kind of annoying to get the pop-ups, and two, I just don't feel like it's necessary for me because I'm happy to just run that stuff manually.
Yeah, I don't run CleanMyMac's always on background widget either. Yeah. I think older versions of Hazel used to have a thing called App Sweep that did this. So it was running on my Mac, but they took App Sweep out of Hazel 5 because of like the sandboxing and all that other stuff. I think was the reason.
Oh, okay.
So, but yeah, I'm like you, Adam. I'll run the uninstaller myself. The global uninstaller that CleanMyMac has myself.
I let CleanMyMac monitor that, and that's probably I should probably turn that off now that you mention it. I mean, because I think I could be wrong, but I think when you run CleanMyMac, if you've uninstalled an app and it's left crap behind, then CleanMyMac will go and get it when you run it manually.
It'll offer to. I actually kind of like that on the fly uninstaller offering. I miss App Sweep from Hazel, but it's all the other things that CleanMyMac's background widget does that used to just get in my way. I don't know. It's like too many alerts.
Let me offer one other thought on that as well. Is we've never heard this before on the show, so this may be new to everybody. Make sure you have a good backup before you run that anyway. Just right. I have personally never had a problem with CleanMyMac. My sister claims that one of her CleanMyMac sessions ruined a bunch of her data, and she didn't have a backup.
Yeah, I mean,
bad, so.
It is software that's removing things from your computer. So, I think even CleanMyMac will tell you make sure you have a backup before you do any of this stuff. I would agree with that. Yeah.
I mean, we say it over and over again, and yet we hear the horror stories all the time.
Yeah. Well, it's just because we say it doesn't mean we live it, Pete.
Do it. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah, you got it. That's exactly right.
Any questions?
Danbo has a question for you, Adam.
Okay.
Unless, do you have a question? Did you have a question to add?
No. I was just going to comment that, people who've listened recently know that I wasn't running my Time Machine backups for over a year. So
right.
Yeah, exactly.
I fixed that problem though.
Did you get it fixed? Are you back in sync now?
Well, I went and did the network on my Synology. I'm like, because the reason again was like I had unplugged all my external drives for other reasons because my hub was causing issues and was just being a pain in the butt, and then I just never reconnected them, and that was a consequence of that. And then I got lazy, and so anyway, I digress. What does Dan want to know?
Dan says, I have an iPhone 16 Pro Max that I got last year. From the first day, I've noticed sporadic Bluetooth dropouts when listening or watching videos. The sound will cut out for a few words and then come right back. This happens with my two HomePod Minis, AirPod Pros, car radio, and Shox headphones. It happens with Apple Music, Spotify, Pocket Cast, iCatcher, and Apple Podcasts. My conclusion is that it is the device or its software. I've restarted the phone daily. I've reset network connections, unpaired and repaired all the Bluetooth devices. No change. I went to the Genius Bar and he connected his AirPods and listened for a few minutes and said, nope, it's fine. I explained that it's sporadic and is there a way he can test the Bluetooth radio? He then took my phone to the back. 20 minutes later, he came back and said, can't find anything. His advice was to restart the phone more often, as it had been 20 full hours since my last restart. Close any unused apps. And as a last resort, I have 180 apps on the phone, so there could be a conflict and I should delete my phone and only install apps as I need them. I felt like I might not have had the best genius, he says, because of these suggestions. To force close the apps. Yeah, that's bad. I took my phone and left. I'm not sure about his last suggestion. The apps worked fine with my iPhone 15 Pro. Any thoughts? This is when I wish there was a safe mode on an iPhone to start up in. Oh, there is.
There kinda
there
is,
is.
isn't there?
There's
Yeah.
got to be. We just don't have access to it. But there's got to be. Anyway, Adam, what do you think?
I think super frustrating. I think we've all been there with the Genius thing. I mean, Apple geniuses, they're trained and they're just like anybody else. Some are really good and knowledgeable on their own. Some just know their training and what they've been kind of told to do and say. So your mileage may vary. Nothing against the geniuses, but they're not always the geniuses that you might want. So I agree with that. I've been there too. I assume when he's saying he reset things that he's been doing the reset network settings. So going into settings, general, transfer, reset iPhone, reset, and then reset network settings. If that's what you've been doing, the only other thing I can think of is maybe trying resetting all settings. Obviously, that's going to require you to reset up a bunch of things, so that's going to be frustrating, but it's better than doing a complete wipe and reinstall. So I would try that first if the just reset network settings isn't working. Generally, that would work. That would be my first bit of advice is like try reset network settings, and you are going to have to reset up your network stuff and things like that. Beyond that, I think, unfortunately, it's a backup the iPhone erase and restore from backup. And then if that fails, backup, erase and restore from scratch. I mean, that's like the nuclear option, and that would be my option of absolute last resort. I mean, if you do all that, I feel like at that point you can take it and it's still broken. You could take it back to the Apple Store and be like, the Bluetooth radio's borked. I know it is.
I think I would do those things in reverse order, Adam. I would do I would do nuclear. I would make a backup of the phone, and then I would nuke and pave and get it set up as bare bones as possible. Skip all the log into iCloud, skip all the everything, and just get to a point where I can play audio with something that has Bluetooth paired and see if it works. Because that way I've ruled everything else out and I'm just testing to see if this radio works. If it does, then I would nuke and pave, I would wipe it again and let it restore from iCloud and let that be the test. Because otherwise, I don't know, that's just me. I realize I am certainly inserting an extra step, unless, of course, we prove that the Bluetooth radio is shot and then we're replacing it. But it just, I like to get rid of all the variables is kind of my path. So that's the only change I would make, because you're right. If the radio is dead, even if you can prove it to yourself otherwise, you will have to wipe your phone to complete scratch to prove it to the Genius Bar or Apple support. Exactly. Right? Like, so, so I don't know. Either one is fine. It's personal preference, but I want to know that radio is good or bad before I start adding variables to it.
Would you try the reset all settings first before the nuclear option, or would you just go straight to the nuclear option?
I think I would. It's an interesting question. I think I would go straight to the nuclear option because I get to back up my settings. And if I get to restore, I want to restore all settings. I don't want to lose those just from it. Like and part of that is an educated decision in that I don't, it's not a bad thing to try, but my gut says that reset all settings is not going to fix this problem. It fixes other problems. I would be pleasantly surprised if it fixed this one, but I don't know what that means.
Another comment about the backup. I think you mentioned iCloud backup. If I'm doing a full like nuke and pave, I would do the local backup with password with turning on encryption so that my health data and all that other password data and all that stuff gets backed up in that backup, because I'm pretty sure the other way around that stuff does not get backed up unless I'm missing.
It gets backed up to iCloud. No, it does get backed up to iCloud. Yeah, because all that's encrypted. It does not get backed up, as I understand it, and this may have changed, but as I understand it, local backups, when not encrypted, will not include your health and password data and all of that sensitive stuff. If encrypted, then yes, they will. Local backups will, but I'm pretty sure iCloud backups always include it because they're always encrypted.
Right. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, that's how it sounds to me. Do you have any thoughts on this, Pete? Before we move onward, his phone's muted.
Yeah. Well, are you hearing that?
Well, I am now. It sounds lovely.
Yeah, I don't know what that is. My air conditioner kicked on, and now all of a sudden I've got this massive amount of reverb and background noise and all that. So humble apologies. I'll ride the mute button until I get this sorted.
Amazing.
But the only quick thing I would mention, we talked about the safe mode on it, is if you really want to geek out on it, jailbreak your phone and play with the radio that way and see. There's probably some ability to do that, but better I go mute now and
yeah,
let the show go back to its normal high quality.
Wow, yeah, that's quite something. I love that. Let's go to Bob's question. Adam, you want to read Bob's? Do you have that there? Maybe
I'm gonna try. I thought I was worried I was muted.
No, you're not muted.
Quickly scroll. I didn't have this in my little list.
Oh, that's right. You use in notes. You use hashtags, right?
Tags, yeah.
Yeah, to organize things. Interesting.
Yeah. So now I'm trying to quickly find it. I see Ben. Bob, here we go. Bob says, after a short 37 years, my lovely young wife of 48 years has decided it was time for us to right-size our home. Thus, we are moving from a 2-story to a 1-story, and I'm trying to not get caught. If moving is not enough trauma, she's also considering changing ISPs. We live in the greater Houston area, and she thinks AT&T fiber will be more reliable than Xfinity Comcast cable in a hurricane or ice storm. Who knows? I did enjoy Dave's story today about how robust his fiber was when laying on the ground. LOL. Thus, the questions. What happens to my email when a service provider is changed? I have had an @comcast.net email address for longer than I can remember. And while I have not saved every email, those that I have saved, I do not want to lose. I know phone numbers are portable, but I've never heard anything about email addresses. I'm hoping the Brain Trust can shed some light on a very confusing subject. Many thanks in advance, and keep up your invaluable work.
Thanks, Bob. So I did not know the answer to this, but I figured this is a relevant question because it happens to a lot of us. And so I did some research, and specifically with Comcast, the short answer is yes, you can keep using your email so long as you keep using it. And using it will be under Comcast's definition. So they will allow you to keep your address for as long as you like, or as long as they deem that it's okay for them to keep this policy in place. IMAP and POP, if you're still using POP, access to your Comcast email will continue to work, but that does not count as usage according to Comcast's support article about this, and we'll put a link in the show notes to that. What does count are two very important things. The first is that you have to have logged into the Comcast web email portal at connect.xfinity.com in the 90 days prior to canceling your internet service. So my advice for this, to meet this criteria, would be to log in a week before you plan to cancel, and then again the day before you plan to cancel. Belt, suspenders, and everything else that you can think of to make sure that whatever their logic is that counts as you logging in has happened. And then their second criteria is that once you've made that transition successfully, you need to continue to log into that same email portal at least once every 9 months. So again, belt and suspenders. My advice would be to set a calendar, recurring calendar reminder that happens every 3 months. That it's going to take you 10 seconds to log in. And this way, even if you miss 2 reminders in a row, you still have a good chance of not losing access to that email account. I don't know if they will alert you via email that you're going to lose access to your account. Like Google does that every 180 days if you have a Google apps for domains or workspace or whatever it's called. If you haven't logged into it, even if you've been getting mail through it or whatever, if you haven't logged into the admin interface, they send you that thing and they're like, we're going to shut you down. I don't know if you get that email from Comcast or any alert at all. So don't assume that you will. Just do the quarterly log into the web interface and, should be off to the races. So yeah, they'll let you do it, which is kind of amazing. But, we get to say nice things about Comcast. Go Comcast. So I don't know. That's what I got.
That's nice.
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of ISPs would even allow you to do that at all. A lot of them give you kind of that 90-day window so you have time to like migrate your email, but I've never heard of them letting you just like keep it indefinitely.
I know. Yeah. The one piece of advice that I would have going along with this though is it's kind of to your point, Adam. Keep your Comcast email because you've got, email from decades old pouring into it. But the day that you switch to AT&T or your fiber connection of any, or switch away from Comcast, or even before, start now, get an email address that is ISP agnostic. And if that's a Gmail address, fine. You also don't own gmail.com, right? So let's be clear about that. Or use your iCloud address. Again, you don't own iCloud.com. Or go get a domain and attach it to your iCloud email and just use that as your email going forward so that you are completely portable. You don't need to worry. Your contact information, your identity isn't tied to your ISP.
Yeah, for less than $10 a year, you get your own domain, and you have it for the rest of your life.
Exactly.
Assuming you keep paying.
Right. Yeah. Stop paying. That's true. There's always something. But yeah. That's
I've had my Harmon1.org for 25 or more years now. So.
Yeah. I thought I was smart when I moved because it was when we in the early days of being online, your email address was your ISP email address. Like that was there were no third party email providers and nobody had their own domains or anything. And so when we started Mac Observer, and it was like, all right, this is a domain that I own. Great. I moved all of my, I had my, Dave at Mac Observer account for all the business stuff. And then I had another account for my personal stuff. I'm like, this is great. I set my
How'd
wife.
That work out for you, Dave?
I set my wife and kids up decades worth of email. I had started to divest myself from that a little bit certainly more so than my family. So yeah, when we sold TMO, I had to put in a contract that we had 2 years to keep this specific list of email addresses. Yeah. And they have been very generous. And though it's been far more than 2 years, none of those addresses have gone away, even though contractually no one is obligated to do that anymore. So I'm still appreciative of it, but yeah.
So are you interested in what caused my sound issues?
Yes, let's go. Yeah.
So I had pulled up, I was trying to go to another program, so I was using Command Tab, and I managed to get to Audio Hijack Pro, and I heard my air conditioner on, so I reached over and I have 2 mute buttons on my Stream Deck, and I have one that switches to Chrome and goes to mute, and the other one just is mute. Well, in StreamYard, which is what we use, Command D is mute. And when I hit the Stream Deck button, it went Command D, and I had Audio Hijack Pro on top. So it duplicated my AU sound processor. And then it got louder, so I hit it again. So I had 3 AU sound processors in a row in Audio Hijack Pro, sending all that out to you over and over and over again. So
this would be the AU Dynamics AU Dynamics processor, which is a compressor. So you just kept adding, you were just compressing the noise and making it louder, and then taking that noise and making it louder. I love it.
a self-inflicted stupidity wound. So
it's okay. No, this is how we learn, right? Like I don't necessarily love making mistakes, although in and of themselves, mistakes always come with lessons. But the opportunity, especially with tech stuff, where you can like dig in and figure out, oh, why did this happen? And then someday that knowledge now is in your brain, right? And now it gets to be collectively in all of our brains. And there'll be a day when it's like, well, wait, actually, I want that. I want to layer two compressors on top of each other. So, and then you will. So,
like you say, it's how you learn. As Derek Jeter spoke at, and I don't know which college, but he was a commencement address. And I heard a snippet of it, which is, he says, I wasn't always successful, and I didn't learn from my successes. I learned from my failures. I learned from my mistakes. So I just had a learning.
Yes, over on Business Brain, we call our mistakes our tuition because it's how we justify paying for them. So
that's right. Or what's his name? The painter Bob, as Matthew Dropko points out, there are no mistakes, only happy accidents.
Happy accidents. I like that.
What's his name?
That's good.
Bob
Ross,
Bob the painter. Bob Ross, the painter.
Bob Ross, the joy of painting. Yeah. Well, we have lots of joy of questions, and I want to take this moment of joy to tell you about our next sponsor. Because, well, picture this. Pete and I, we go down to Tideline Public House, our local tap room and food truck pod, and we're grabbing beers and, maybe some tacos. And when we get up to pay, boom, we use our sponsor Square because that's what Tideline has. And it's a quick tap, done, back to the fun. The staff loves it, works out great. And I see Square everywhere, from the Stone Church when I'm playing gigs and not getting free drinks, and I get to use it there, and the staff loves it. Again, super smooth. To Bame, a Thai restaurant here in Durham, where I can grab lunch with my daughter while she's home for the summer and still pay faster than she can finish her crab rangoons, right? The gear is sleek, the checkout is lightning fast, and the best part, it just works. Even if the Wi-Fi flakes out, and if Square ever releases a device that makes my band show up on time, I'm buying 10 of them. Whether you're running a food truck or a brick and mortar, Square helps you move fast, look good, and keeps your business humming. Don't get caught managing checkout chaos. You want you and your staff to have the smooth experience with all of your customers that Square brings. Square keeps up so you don't have to slow down. Get everything you need to run and grow your business without any long-term commitments. And why wait? Right now, you can get up to $200 off Square hardware at square.com/go/MGG. That's SQUARE.com/GO/MGG. We put all these links in the show notes for you. Run your business smarter with Square. Get started today. And our thanks to Square for doing what they do, making it so easy, and for sponsoring this episode. So back in episode 1086, we talked about enabling local network access for apps, right? When a warning on your Mac or an alert on your Mac comes up and it says such and such would like to find and connect to devices on your local network. And I talked about how I needed to do that I was doing that so that they could talk to printers and all of that. Bruce wrote in and said local device access might not limit everything. He says, I have no problems navigating to devices on my local network in Chrome, and I have very explicitly said no every time it has asked for that local network access, and I double-checked that it was disabled in system settings. So, Dave, your assertion that this is required for a browser to access the web page interface of a router or something else on your local network is not consistent with the data that I have. He says, I have exactly one application where I've allowed this local access, and that's Dropbox. That local access appears to be required for the LAN peer-to-peer file sync to work. I think the challenge lies in glossing over the first part of the sentence in the dialog box and on the settings page. This will allow you to use an iPhone or iPad on your network. It says, he sent us a thing for Keynote. So Keynote would like to find and connect to local devices. This will allow you to use an iPhone or iPad on your network as a remote control in Keynote. And then the sentence in question, allow the applications below to find and communicate with devices on your local network. The dialog isn't asking, allow this application to communicate with. It's asking, allow this application to find and communicate with. And that makes sense with the Dropbox example, he says. Dropbox wants to actively discover other Dropbox instances on my local network, which Bill's reading, he says, indicates is done with a UDP broadcast packet on port 17500. However, find isn't required for a browser to connect to a device on the local network because you're telling it the IP address. It just needs to connect. So this is interesting, and I have done some testing with this and confirmed what Bruce is saying, that you can disable or say no to that, disallow that, and still absolutely get to those things as long as you know the address. Why things that are looking for printers might need this, I don't know, because the system takes care of the searching for printers. But certainly with web browsers, I did the other day also have Zoom come up and ask me for local network access, but only when Lisa joined a Zoom that was already going on, and Lisa was on my local network. So Zoom somehow knew, not somehow, I mean, it knew that we were both coming from the same place and said, hey, wait, I don't need to send their communication through the cloud. I can have the two of them. So Zoom is doing some extra magic to peer-to-peer things together. But it would have worked with or without it. It just, was going to be more efficient with it. But yeah, so thank you for that, Bruce. Good stuff.
Nice.
Yeah. You got a question, Adam?
I do. So I think we've talked about, I was very quickly running out of my iCloud storage. I have the Apple One Plus Premier, whatever, account for like all the Apple stuff. So, plus everything. And then it comes with, 2 terabytes of iCloud storage.
Yep.
And, I have one daughter who just loves to take videos and all kinds of stuff, and she was slowly like eating up the majority of the family's 2 terabytes of storage. I think she had like 1.4 and the rest of us had the 6 left over. And so I was watching my iCloud storage get to 1.8, 1.9, and then we were trying to do some podcast stuff. I was trying to send her some files, and like the files weren't syncing, and I'm like, I bet we're getting like right to that point where like, it's not able to sync stuff because we're like barely have enough storage left. And, we're doing different audio files and different versions of them. They get pretty large. So I'm like, I got to bite the bullet and just get the 6. Because the next jump for me, we've talked about this, is the only thing Apple's offering me is the 6 terabytes, which is $30 a month. And I've just been like, it hurts me even as I say it now.
Yeah.
And so I went to turn it on, and I got some weird message. I probably should have taken the screenshot, but I went to turn it on and try to get some additional storage. I think I kind of borked it, but then ultimately I signed up for the $29.99. I got a credit back on my Apple One, but then to me the whole thing is very, very confusing. So I'm just trying to figure out, have I done something wrong? Am I getting hosed by Apple in what I'm paying for now? Because what happens now, if I go into settings, into my Apple account,
Yep.
I go into iCloud, I can manage features. So I manage my plan. I see iCloud Plus features, and for storage, manage plan is 6 terabytes.
So it says iCloud Plus with 4 terabytes
of storage.
6 terabytes storage. So you really have 8, right? Because you have your 2 plus the 6.
I don't. That's the problem. This is where I think I've done something wrong or I'm getting screwed. Also, when I pop open that window, it says, you might like Apple One. Try it for free. I already have an Apple One subscription, which I can validate by going to my Apple account, clicking on media and purchases, and manage subscriptions. And it says I have Apple One Premier. And when I click on that, I can manage individual services. I can see what plans I have. when I choose manage individual services, it says, guess what? I have Apple Music, Apple TV Plus, Apple Arcade. I have iCloud Plus with 2 terabytes of storage.
Okay. This explains why you and I see different things in there and have for a long time. Because when I go in, I see 2 things. When I click on manage, I have 2 subscriptions there. One is Apple One Premier, and it tells me the renewal date, and that costs $37.95. And then the second one is iCloud Plus with 2 terabytes of storage, and that cost me $9.99. So I'm paying a total of, $48 essentially, $47.94 or whatever it is. But I see 2 subscriptions there. And are you seeing only one on that page, Adam?
Correct. And so here's where I think I may have gone wrong. So if you're looking, when I'm looking at my Apple One subscription.
Yep.
And I click on manage iCloud Plus accounts, which I think is at the bottom.
Yes.
The account that is tied to my Apple One iCloud Plus is my old Mac.com account that my wife and I shared like for forever.
Yes.
It's also the one that I use for media and purchases. My actual iCloud account is a different account, and I'm wondering if my new storage is tied to that account, and I don't know that I know how to get them merged without messing up a bunch of stuff.
So I have theories on this. I think your theory is right, that you as a sub account of the family, you have added storage for you that the family doesn't necessarily get. I'm not sure how that works, but I think from what you're saying, I think that's right. So my theory would be to create a second user account on your Mac and log that into your, what I'll call the primary, the parent iCloud account, right? And then there you should hopefully see the things that I see, because the options that I get for storage plans are more plentiful than what you get, because I can add iCloud Plus with 50 gigs, 200 gigs, 2 terabytes, and then of course the 6 terabytes is $30. But the 2 terabytes is, as I said, $9.99. 200 gigs is $2.99, and 50 gigs is 99 cents. So I am adding the same plans that you are adding, but when I add them, they add it. You'll see. I'm sharing a screenshot in our Discord, but it says you're currently using 2.4 terabytes of storage. All plans can be shared with up to 5 family members. And so my guess is that that's your path, is to go and add storage to, I would add storage to the family plan first, and then take your extra block of storage away. You are buying, as we've seen with Apple in the past anyway, so that's the only way I can go on this. You are buying storage allocations. You are not buying the actual storage that's being used. So if you were to take it away, I don't think your data just like magically goes poof, So
They just won't let you add more, right?
correct.
Again, that's I mean, I can try that. That's the only weird part is that, I mean, the 6 terabytes are definitely tied to my media and purchases account, which is the one that I'm logged into with the family account. I don't understand. And that's also the one that the Apple One subscription's on. So I don't understand why it's the way it is. It's just bizarre.
So you might need to call Apple support on this.
Yeah. That was where I was kind of at with it.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess that is weird. Okay, so when I click on my family account, my organizer account is my iCloud one. But my purchases, there's that account, and then it says purchases and subscriptions, which is a different account. This is a secondary Apple account. I can change that. I don't know. It's just super confusing. This may be a call to Apple. What have I borked? But I definitely know, I'm almost 100% positive now after talking to you, that I am getting hosed, that the $9.99 in my current Apple Plus account for 200 or for 2 terabytes of storage, I'm paying for that. under my Apple One, and I'm not getting access to that storage because I thought the exact same thing as you. I thought when I added 6, it would go on top of the 2 that I had, and I should have 8.
And that's what happened for me is I added 2 and I have 4. Yes.
Yep. And that's what I really want. That's the right solution. And then I'm not paying $30 a month. So, Dr. Dream, that might be me being too far away from my mic.
Yeah. I think that's hopefully that's your issue. But you call Apple. My guess is they'll, if you get the right person, they'll get you there.
So, Matthew asks and forgive me, I may have missed it if you answered this. Do you have an email saying your Apple One will end at the end of the next billing cycle, in that you accidentally canceled Apple One and you still have access till the end of the month?
Well, that was the other weird thing. No, I mean, yes, that was my concern, but no, when I look at it, the subscriptions are both renewing basically. So again, adding more to the confusion, because I thought exactly the same thing. And that was where I first went into my media purchases and subscriptions. And I think the iCloud shows it, the storage shows it renews on one date, and the Apple One shows that it renews on another date. Because that was my first real concern, was like, oh, it just unsubscribed me from Apple One, and now I'm going to lose all my Plus media access and stuff.
Right.
That did not happen.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yep. Fun. Hopefully you can get yourself over that hump. This all makes sense now, because over the last year we've been talking about this, and you've always seen different options and outcomes than the rest of us. And so
I just don't know how to untangle it. That's without like bad things happening. Like that's my concern. Like, I'll live with this versus I go change something and suddenly, like, like you said, probably all these storage won't go away, but like, I don't know, services go away and my family's like, I can't access Apple TV Plus now. What the hell's going on? Like, I don't want to be in that world.
Yeah. Right. Oh yeah. No. You want to understand the path before you start mucking about with it. Yeah. Do it with, and as we know, even doing it with the holding hand of an Apple support specialist on the phone may not yield a perfect outcome, but at least you have, someone who has the ability to talk to someone who might be able to help in those scenarios.
Right. I want to address, at risk of us going too long or going over, Matthew in YouTube chat says, I think Apple needs to make a pick your own Apple One. I don't want games and probably don't need the new newsstand thing. So I don't know if you caught what I said, and I didn't know this was a feature, but when I went into settings, media purchases, subscriptions manage, and which shows all my subscriptions, you can click on Apple One. And when you go to that settings, there is an option that says choose individual services. You can unsubscribe from Apple One and keep only what you want. So you can go in and piecemeal. I don't think you get as much of a discount, but you can go in and, like, I could go into my Apple One Premiere and just turn off that iCloud Plus 2 terabytes if I want. I can literally uncheck that and just subscribe from that 2 terabytes. So that's not what I want to do. I want to adjust it, but you can, piecemeal your services. I don't know if that means you lose any kind of discounting or you just get less discounting, but it seems like you can kind of pick and choose.
I think there is no discounting unless there is no bundle pricing unless you buy the whole bundle is right. Really where it comes down to. So yeah, that's the that's the rub there is they don't have a pick 3. It's not like a barbecue joint where it's, get the 2 meat plate or the 3 meat plate, but you get to pick which your meats are. It's not, Apple One is not barbecue. So, that's how it goes. Yep. We have more questions and we have cool stuff found. So we have a decision to make. But first, what I want to do is tell you about our next sponsor. Because, all right, well, let me tell you, I use our sponsor Coda with one of my other businesses, and it's a total game changer. We've replaced spreadsheets, docs, task trackers, meeting notes, all of it with one clean, collaborative workspace. It's like giving your team a shared brain, except this one doesn't forget things or get distracted by cat videos. Coda brings together docs, spreadsheets, calendars, Kanban boards, even AI, all in one tab. And now it's powered by Grammarly, so everything we write sounds clearer and more professional, or at least less like I dictated it while walking through a wind tunnel. We use it to plan, coordinate, and actually execute projects without bouncing between 17 browser tabs and 3 different apps just to figure out who's doing what. And now startups get 6 months of the team plan for free. So if you're launching something, growing something, or just want your life to feel a little less chaotic, don't get caught taping your workflow together with digital duct tape. Head over to coda.io/MGG right now and get 6 months of the team plan for startups for free. That's coda.io/MGG and get 6 months of the team plan for free. Coda.io/MGG, and our thanks to Coda for sponsoring this episode. So earlier this episode, I asked a question and Dogstir answered in our Discord chat. And what I asked was, how do I transfer and sync? Well, really what I asked is, how do I sync my dock between multiple Macs? And while there's not a great answer for that, Dogstir does have a great answer for transferring a dock layout from one Mac to another. So you get it set the way you want and then move it. So that's step 1, is set it up the way you want. Step 2, copy the com.apple.doc.plist file from your preferences to the same location on your other Mac or other Macs. And then after copying, you run kill all doc. The only capital letter there would be D. All of this is in the show notes already. Kill all doc in the terminal to force the doc to reload its config. And then you've got that doc on your Mac. So Dogstir, thank you for that. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Love it. So that's a quick question answered. Thank you. It's awesome. Adam, you want to take us to Craig's question?
Sure, I can do that if I pull up my stuff again. Sorry, I'm a little off this morning. Okay, so Craig says, hey, I have a generic whole house generator, but it comes on only 15 to 20 seconds after a power drop and continues to be off. So when a power outage occurs, my UPSs all immediately go to battery, and then when power is restored, either a small bounce or a hard outage where their generator kicks in, all 3 UPSs reconnect to the house power at the same time. Full-on max amp draw on the circuitry. Basically, the same thing happens when you initially plug in a UPS into the power outlet and turn it on. This is continuously causing the 15 amp circuit for that room to trip because all 3 UPSs move back to house power as soon as it's restored. The solution needed is a unicorn. I'm looking for a device that would sit between the outlet and the UPS, and when it detects the presence of input voltage, it will delay some period of time before actually turning on the other side, giving power back to a UPS. My plan is to use such a device on my UPS that is non-critical. So power goes off, UPSs all go to battery, power comes back on. 2 of the 3 UPSs immediately go back to power draw. One of them, however, delays for some number of minutes before restoring power to the non-critical UPS AC input. Basically, I'm looking for the opposite of a timer that shuts off power to a timer that turns on power.
Yeah. So I am not an electrician. However, I do play one in my own home. So first of all, my advice, Craig, is if you're not an electrician, either hire or consult an electrician. If you're comfortable working with electricity, at least consult an electrician. Unless you're throw all caution to the wind like me, then go bare feet, wet your basement floor, and stick a screwdriver in that box. Because that's no. In all seriousness, you got to when you turn off that main breaker, realize there's still hot power at the very top, and know that there are some solutions here. One is, and this is highly unlikely, if your wiring's good enough, you could up the amperage in the breaker, but you must know that you've got the wiring that'll handle the 20 amp, and likely you don't, or they wouldn't have put a 15 amp breaker in there in the first place. Your problem comes from this. The inrush, and this is from the Eaton UPS Fundamentals Handbook. Inrush current, the maximum instantaneous input current drawn by an electrical device when first turned on, some electrical devices, i.e. your UPS, draw several times their normal full load of current when initially energized. So that's why you need the solution. And I think your solution may be in these delay timer time relays. They're available on Amazon for about $13 or $14 a piece. I think you need 2 of them. That way, if you have 3 UPSs, one will come on immediately. You set 45-second delay on one timer. That'll bring your second one on after 45 seconds, and then set a 90-second delay. That's just an example.
Yeah.
You could set it for 2 minutes or 4 minutes or whatever you need, but I think 45 to 90 seconds will probably do enough for the UPS to come on, draw its big load, and then settle down. And that way you aren't overamping that whole circuit. In my answer to Greg, I gave him the whole power formula and assumptions and that sort of thing. But 3 800 watt, 1000 volt amp UPSs will draw normal draw is going to be right at 20 amps. So I'm assuming he doesn't have that, or that'd blow the circuit anyway. But when they come on, they're going to draw several times their amperage. So you can get one of those delay timer time relays, put that on there. That will solve your problem. It will come back on. But you need to know how to work with electricity. So back to my initial advice, either consult an electrician or hire an electrician. I think for the price of a UPS, you could probably have all that installed and be up and running and good to go.
I want your electrician, because I can buy a UPS for I could buy a really nice one for about $200, and I can't get an electrician to show up at my house for less than about $500.
I'll do it
yeah.
for $200, Steve.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't want me messing with your circuit breaker box?
No, but what I'm looking for, I love this idea that you found.
Yeah.
But you're right. If you like the ones you found plug into they essentially replace the circuit or sit in line in the circuit in your thing. But that's not going to help him, because all of these things are on one circuit, right? He needs to delay one UPS, not the whole circuit. It doesn't matter when the circuit turns on. He needs the UPS down the line.
Oh, my understanding was it sat between the circuit breaker and the UPS.
Well, the one that I've got a link here that you shared, and it looks like it is. This plugs into the circuit breaker. It's not plugging into an AC outlet. Well, no, I guess, okay. You're right. It looked like it plugged into the circuit breaker. It doesn't. It just does not have an AC jack. So you have to wire this in to an outlet yourself. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So that's not ideal. Let me see if there is. I was looking to see if there were other things that would just plug into an AC outlet that would do this. We'll put a link to yours in the show notes. But yeah, these things can exist. Go
ahead.
Well, I was going to say, like, we aren't going to find one quickly here, so I don't want to spend our show time. But the idea is, yes, there are these devices. We can share one here, and if between now and when the show gets released, we can find one that actually just sits. The ideal thing would be something that sits in line. You plug it into the AC outlet, you plug your UPS into this, and you set whatever this device is to 20 seconds, and you're golden. So
Sure.
we just need to find one of those. And I know it
Okay.
exists.
I'll look for that. The only other suggestion I had, like in my case, my UPSs are right by my breaker box in the basement, so it would be easy for me. And if you're in the same situation, it'd be easy for you. Put a new home run, is what it's called, a new breaker in your main breaker box, and wire it with 10 gauge, and it should handle all three. Or put a couple new home runs and put them in there. Would be a thought. In other words, create their own circuit for those UPS backups.
Fair. Yeah, I'm going to guess that he's not close enough
Most people
to do
probably
that.
aren't in that situation.
Correct.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah,
It's up in their office.
And you're not going to run new wire in your walls either, like to upgrade the circuit from 15 to 20. Like that's a major undertaking. Yeah. But
mine's right in my basement, so I'd be golden. But
this relay that you found, I mean, you could wire a plug to it and use it that way. But I feel like there's a more ideal version of this that's just built for outlets, and it'll probably cost you $50 instead of 15, but then you're good to go. Yeah, no, you've definitely found the right thing. We just need to find the version of it that just plugs in the right way. But yeah, I like it. Yeah, that's a good find, man. I didn't even know these things existed, but it's a real need because that UPS it's going to draw heavy.
Oh, they hammer. First. They just hammer it. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. We got a question from listener Dave, and I know Adam needs to head out, but I would love to have you here for at least the beginning of this question. Listener Dave alerted us to an article and then another article and a series of them reporting some not necessarily good information about Backblaze's financial health. And and so it started out as a paper from a company called Morpheus Research, and they point out many things with Backblaze being a publicly traded company. They there's a lot of things that is therefore public, things that are therefore public about their finances. And including, and so they report, I don't know, a dozen things on this article, maybe more, maybe 20 things, 30 things, something like that, about how executives of the company were selling stock before bad news was announced and things like that, and all these things that if you read this on the surface, it's not great. Where there's smoke, there's fire. Maybe there is some truth to all of this. However, as I started digging into this, what I also learned was that Morpheus Research was founded in 2025, so it is a relatively new company, and holds short positions against Backblaze that they purchased before this research note came out. So it muddies any ability for us to at least efficiently know whether or not to trust the report. But again, I'm sure that there are things reported here that are factually true. They are painted in a light that certainly would benefit someone with a short position in Backblaze. Do we to go back to the meta question? Do we need to worry about Backblaze? I don't know is the answer. But I'll link to I will link to a ChatGPT session that I had within which the link to this Morpheus report and then also some information about Morpheus is there. I don't just want to link directly to the Morpheus report in the event that someone didn't hear this discussion and doesn't understand the context of things. So I will link the show notes to that ChatGPT session, and you can see what it said. And obviously, it's always good to dig in and make your decisions. But yep. So,
I mean, this is also why I have 4 forms of backup, right? And it's like not just Backblaze that has my stuff. Right. Yep. If they go away tomorrow, they're not going to go away overnight. First of all, even if something happens, right, that there's going to be a notice, and you'll have time to move someplace else or get your data down or whatever.
Yeah.
So I don't panic about these two things. Again, it's good to have that perspective. Like, yeah, know your sources, but even if they are in some sort of trouble, yeah, it's concerning, but
they're a $250 million company, right? So even if they can't, let's say all of this, is pointing to the current leadership's inability to manage the company going forward. And I'm not saying that. I'm saying if it were that, and that if that's true, well, it's a $250 million company. Like, someone is going to come in and believe, correctly or not, believe that they are smarter than current leadership and that they can take the helm and turn this thing into either a profitable $250 million company or a $1 billion company, right? And so they will acquire the assets, and they want to keep the business going. If it's a $250 million company, there's lots of customers like us paying into them, and they want to retain that income and all of those things. So yeah, it's not going to go away. It's just that's how that would work. But yeah, it is worth being aware, and that's why I wanted to bring it up in the show. But I don't know enough to know what's going on. So, but yeah, I promised that I would talk about Synology in this episode. And Adam, if you need to duck out, we're going to let you duck out. I will share this information with you separately, my friend.
All right. And thanks, everybody.
Yep.
See you next week.
See you next week,
Bye.
Adam. And I will share this information about Synology by way of a cool stuff found, because I dug into this with Synology, and what I'm talking about this is what came up in the last episode, where Synology's 2025 units, and only, 2025 and presumably later, but nothing earlier, only their new 2025 units are brand locked currently to Synology drives, Synology branded drives. Now, that's not entirely correct. They are locked to a list of drives that are approved for use in Synology disk stations, and vendors can apply for approval. So it's not always only going to be Synology drives, but as of today, or at least as of 2 days ago when I had this conversation with our friends at Synology, there were no third-party drives yet approved. And so I pointed out an example to them. I said, okay, my current SHR volume has several 20 terabyte drives in it. If I look at Synology's Plus drives, the largest one is 16 terabytes. So what happens if I move this SHR store, and whatever you migrate to a 2025 unit is grandfathered in. You're totally fine. You don't have to have, I could take my drives and move them into a 2025 Synology unit and they would work fine. But when I go to add a new one, it has to be on the approved list. And I don't believe, I could be wrong, but on quick searching, the Synology Plus drives or whatever, the largest one that I could buy from them is a 16 terabyte drive, which means I cannot add storage to my array because my largest drive is a 20 terabyte drive, and you have to add drives that are at least equal to that size. And so I asked them, I said, asking for a friend, asking for a Dave, asking for our listeners. And they don't have an answer to this question yet, but they're working on it for us. However, listener Rob does have an answer to this question.
Yeah,
he does. He found on GitHub is a thing called Synology HDDDB, which is a way of replacing your Synology's drive database with something that is far less restrictive. And in fact, one that you can edit and put your own drives in and all of these things. And you need to set it up to run at startup so that when you update your Synology operating system, it's going to put the list back out there and you're going to replace the list. It's this game of cat and mouse. And so it's out there. There are instructions. They're very clear as to how to do all of this. And this issue, I run into this. Like when I put my first 20 terabyte drive in my Synology, it told me this drive's not on the approved list. Now, the 18 terabyte version of that same drive, the Seagate Exos in this case, was on the approved list, but the 20 terabyte wasn't because it was relatively new. It hadn't been put on the list. Now, there are two different flavors of Synology approved list. There is the one that goes backwards for 2024 and before. And then there's the one 2025 and later that's far more restrictive. But there always has been this list. And this GitHub thing, or this thing that's on GitHub, this Synology HDDDB, was really built for the 2024 and prior units so that you didn't get these errors when you put your drives in. It's like, no, it's going to be fine. Yeah. And so they do have a 2025 plus model specific piece of information about this. And so there's all kinds of there's information about how this is going to work with the 2025 models and instructions on how to do it and all of these things. There's a huge page all about this stuff. So there are answers there, but I also...
The question that comes to mind is Synology going to fight this?
The question that comes to my mind is Synology going to allow users to simply put the drives that they want in there? I understand the thought process of saying, okay, look, it's the Apple mindset of we want to know what we're supporting. And so we don't want to have, we want to know it's all in our wheelhouse, because as you pointed out, Synology support, they'll support a disk station that's like 8 years old, 10 years old, sometimes
Amazing.
older. Yeah. And so they want to be able to continue to do that. And this is probably a way of limiting those variables. But they also know that there's the enterprise customers that are going to be happy and probably doing a good thing by buying Synology branded drives and having all the support in one bucket so that everything is guaranteed to work, or at least built to work together. And when there's a problem, you've got one stop, one place to call. And there's those enterprise customers, and that's great. And then there's the prosumers that are doing this on a much tighter budget and therefore wanting to kind of do their own thing and are willing. I would be absolutely willing to check a box saying, yes, I understand this drive's unsupported. I have put it in anyway, and there it shall stay. I got this.
Exactly.
Right. So I think now the people that I know at Synology are in the marketing department. They are not in, it's not they're not the engineers. Actually, I know some engineers there, and I know the CEO, but I haven't been talking to the CEO. So the people that I've been talking to about this are not in any position to make decisions and might not even be in a position to heavily influence decisions. I don't know. But I do know that when I ask these questions, I'm not getting a "you're holding it wrong" answer. I'm getting a, that's a really good, valid question is the response I'm getting, which tells me that and I know this, we're not the only ones asking these questions. Obviously, there's articles out there about this left and right, but that there's discussion happening about maybe we stepped too far. That's my interpretation. They have not said that to me, but that's the feeling that I get is in the way that responses are coming back, the way conversations are being had. It feels like this is something where they're taking input to heart. So,
well, hopefully their answer to that then would be something along the lines of use our branded drives, and you get full support. Use other drives at your own risk.
At your own risk, exactly.
Yeah,
and
it'll work, but we ain't going to support it.
Yeah,
we don't have the bandwidth to support.
We'll see where it all comes from, or where it all ends. And again, what the nice part is that this Synology HDDDB, this third party thing, shows us that this is obviously a software. It confirms that this is a software limitation, and therefore is one that could easily be altered, evolved by Synology as time marches forward very easily. So that it doesn't mean that they will evolve this going forward, mind you, but it means that it is it would be it would be trivial for them to choose to add or change the restrictions that this list imposes.
Sure. And it sounds, doesn't sound like that. It seems to me they're reasonable people based on the support I've gotten when I've had issues. They're like, oh, yeah, we can support this. We will. And that's what makes them a valuable.
And they listen.
It's what makes it worth the money you spend on one.
They listen to the prosumers. The fact that we have models. I mean, 2020 was for a while considered to be the last Synology model that would have an Intel processor and a GPU in it, and therefore could do hardware transcoding, which is something that most business enterprise customers don't care about, which is, why it made sense to move to those faster chips for the CPU stuff without the GPU. And then in, 2023, they rolled out units with Intel chips for people like us. So they definitely care about this market and have for a very long time. So I'm optimistic that there will be a first party solution, but I'm thankful that there is a third party solution. So there you go. Yeah. Hey, it's interesting because the disk station that I run is a 1621 XS Plus. That's my primary one. Now, if you go and look at the specs, you'll see that it has an AMD CPU, which means it does not have a GPU built in. So that's not the one that runs my Plex server. My Plex server, well, I have a couple of them running, but my primary one is actually running from my QNAP. But I also have one on my DS1520 Plus. But my primary one is the 1621 XS Plus. And I have an SHR volume in it, Synology Hybrid RAID, which lets you have disks of multiple sizes. The 1621 XS Plus, if you set it up out of the box, does not allow Synology Hybrid RAID. You cannot set up a volume with SHR on that unit, on the same unit that I am currently running an SHR volume. And the reason is only software. That unit in Synology's mind is for enterprise, corporate stuff, and they have chosen not to allow SHR, and you got to do traditional RAID. And traditional RAID is more robust, let's say, than SHR, although I've never had major issues with SHR. But, traditional RAID is more robust. And so that unit is for that. So they just turned off the SHR switch when you are creating a new volume on it. However, I migrated those disks, or maybe not the disks, but the volume was migrated from my previous unit into it, and it happily runs SHR. No problem. I've added disks to it. It's fine. It's running SHR as SHR. There's no issue. It's totally fine. So there are these, and it's similar to the grandfathering of an array that you migrate over to a 2025 unit. It'll let you use your existing disks. So I feel like there's going to be some middle ground. That's my hope. So anyway, I realize we have gone extra long today on the day that we were supposed to go short. Yeah.
Though, but yeah.
And if I had not promised to talk about Synology, then I would have skipped this, or I wouldn't have skipped it. I would have tabled it till next week, but we promised, and it's kind of important. I know a lot of you out there were worried about this, so thank you for listening today. Yeah. Thanks, folks. Yep. Thanks to eero for doing that giveaway with us. MacGeekGab.com/giveaway. Go sign up. It's a good one. I'm loving my eero Outdoor 7. It's working out great. So thanks to CashFly for providing all the bandwidth to get the show from us to you. Even though Adam had to leave the show a few minutes early today, make sure to go listen to his debut film podcast. That way you can get more of Adam that you missed for the last 10 minutes here. Make sure to listen to Pete's other show, So There I Was, for aviation enthusiasts, some fantastic stories. And my other two shows, Geek Gab for working musicians and Business Brain for entrepreneurs. Thanks for hanging out.
Indeed.
We're having a blast. Yep. Yeah. Make sure to review the show. MacGeekGab.com/review.
5 stars. Count them 5.
5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can do that math.
Pull over and do it now.
Pull over and do it now.
Don't create a road hazard.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And if you do, don't get caught.
Made on a Mac.
Later.